Good afternoon, and welcome to another community conversation. March is Women's History Month, and our theme is Aurora, Her Story. Today, we have four dynamic leaders, each who is here to start to tell her story, and let us know how they help move our city along. Let's start off with giving a wave out, Alderman of the Second Ward, Alderwoman Juani Hart-Burns. I'm sorry to say Juani Garza. Juani Garza. I mixed up. Hi, everybody, Juani.
Hello, how are you? Too much work in the weekend.
I know y'all come together as a package.
Yes.
Ward 7, Alderwoman Scheketa Hart-Burns, our longest serving of our ladies here on the screen. Ward 8, Alderwoman Patty Smith. Say hey there, Patty Smith. And our newest Alderwoman, Ward 10, Alderwoman Shweta Baid. Say hi to everybody, Shweta. Now, we know all of you very well, publicly, seeing you at City Council, every other Tuesday, COW, every other Tuesday on after that. But I don't know if people know you publicly and know your story and how you got here, where you came from. But, we know every story has a beginning. I'd like you to take a few minutes just to introduce yourself, be, brief and share your story, your background, and how you made it to the Aurora City Council and to the city of Aurora. We'll start with Alderwoman Juani Garza. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Juani.
All right. Yes. Well, I raised and born in Mexico and close to Monterrey. And I moved to this country, and after I graduate in elementary school in Mexico, and I married, so I came to this country with no idea where I came, because we don't know. My ex-husband was from here, so say, okay, let's go there to they say it's too cold, it's freezing, it's a lot of snow, and we don't have idea or nothing of that. Totally different weather in there. So the first time when I came here was in the winter time. So I don't know if you remember the years, 1972, so it's a lot of snow, nothing like now. And I say, oh my God, what is this? Who people living in here? So this is my first experience and right here in Chicago.
So it didn't snow in Monterey much.
Yes. No, over there we don't have no snow and all.
No, at all.
They rain a lot, and it's very dry. It's most dry. Right now, they have problems with water in the city. So it's dry, totally dry. So totally different weather. And yeah, but now I can't believe it. It's over almost 50 years in here. And
wow.
If I go back there, I say, oh my God, yeah. But I understand perfectly the people from Ukraine right now, when they put everything in a briefcase and go to other country. It's exactly what happened to me. Wow. I married, and I say, okay, put it whatever you can put it in a briefcase, and came to this country. Wow. And you don't know the language, you don't know the customs, you don't know nothing. So it's totally new. And it started little by little. So when Marbella born, so literally understand English. And I remember when I go into the hospital in Marbella born, I don't know how to say, I want my coffee with sugar. I don't know how to say sugar. So they bring me the coffee, but I drink the coffee black and no sugar, no cream, because I don't know how to say.
Oh.
And back in the times, really, they didn't have much bilingual people in the hospital like now. Now we have all bilingual everywhere. So in the back years was very difficult. And it's what my experience. So I started working in 1973. So I have my documents, and I got working in a factory, south side by 46 in Iceland. So wow. they have a lot of stores in there, and I want to work in the school, but I don't have the degree and I don't know the language. So I want to work to the factory, and I make $2.10. I remember, and I work. Yes, and Marbella, she don't know English because she speaks Spanish with me all the time. So I put her to the daycare, and she's crying every day because she don't understand what other kids saying. She learned in the hard way too. When she started learning, and 2 years old, she started learning the language, and she's talking. So I learned together, Marbella and me, because she don't know and I didn't know. And my husband, he never tried to go and learn English language. all the time. She's working like a lot of immigrants. They came to this country and just working, work, and try to make money and survive. And I said, no, this is not life, really. I was only like 7 months in the factory, and I said, no, this is not for me. So when I go to the school to try to learn English and basic only, really, and I said, okay. So past years, I moved from the south side of Chicago to North Lake. And so my other two kids born in North Lake. So by the time when Ricky had 5 years old and Marbella was a little bit bigger, so I went to the school and I learned more. And then I start to do alphabetization in the Triton College. The Triton College is in River Grove. I work there. I work there, teach to the adults the language of Spanish. Is what I teach Spanish classes.
Wait a minute. You were a teacher for a while at Triton College?
Yes.
Wow, I had no idea. It's great.
Yes, I was there. Yes.
How to speak Spanish?
Yes, there, give it the Spanish.
Wow.
And then they create a program they call Nuevos Horizontes, New Horizons. They created back the years, 1984, 1985, I was there. So I don't have idea. I hear about Aurora, but far away, Aurora. No, I don't have idea. I live in North Lake for 21 years.
What year did you come to Aurora?
When I came to Aurora, and then I put it insurance agency in Villa Park. So I have insurance agency, and the majority of my clients are Latinos, obviously. And then we have a lot of clients from Aurora. So they say,
let's be clear. You own your own insurance business.
Yes.
Wow.
I have an insurance agency for 16 years.
Wow.
So I have a lot of clients. Besides the point, the owner of La Caperucita on Broadway, he was one of my customers.
Wow.
Yes, and now he's very old like me, but in that time he's going all the way to Villa Park and he's talking about Aurora and they making the casino and blah, blah, blah. And so exciting when they start building the building of the casino. And I said, what is Aurora? I want to go and no. So I said, you got to come over. Maybe you can put another agency in Aurora. So this is why in 1995, the first time I came to Aurora, because of the owner of La Caperucita.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So, and then I put my own agency in 96. The agency, insurance agency is still there, Richard.
Where?
In Benton and Broadway.
Oh, wow. You started that?
That one was my original. Wow. And I sold to this guy. Yes.
Wow, that's great. And I remember, didn't you also own a trucking company?
And also I have my insurance, my company, Garza Transportation with Greg, you know him.
Yeah.
For a couple of years too. And
wow.
I said, well, I'm working so hard with Garza Transportation, have a lot of contracts with Geneva Construction. So, and as I know, I start knowing Aurora. So Marbella got married and she moved to Aurora and she started begging me, Mom, it's too far to go all the way to North Lake to see you. You gotta move to Aurora and you gotta move to Aurora. And I told her, I don't want a new house because she live in a new house. I said, I think it's too weak for me. I want a very built house with the basement and all that.
With foundation.
So she's looking and said, Mom, I got your house already. So she got this house.
The house that you live in now.
You gotta come and see it. And they have a lot of land because they want to plant tomatoes and everything. So she convinced me in 97 and moved here.
Oh, well, let me ask you a question.
97, I bought this house. And since now I live here in Aurora. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know nobody except the guy from La Caperucita. So and other clients I have. So
well, now you have a lot of friends. And a lot
of experience with Aurora the first time when I came, because in that time, 96, 97, we have a lot of problems with gangs and all that.
We did.
And thank God, everything now is totally different. Like in back years when I moved to Aurora.
No, let me ask you a question. Because then I'm going to ask some of the other ladies we have on, to tell their story as well. But what year was it when you decided you wanted to be in public service and serve the city of Aurora? I
started in 2004. I had my agency here and back and forth to Villa Park. And what I hear, I have a lot of comments in my agency over here. The questions, they don't know the alderman and they don't know what the alderman do. And why we don't have lights in the alleys. So we try to fix the sidewalks. And it starts receiving a lot of concerns from the community. They say they don't have no programs for us, like immigrants. Okay. So we need programs for us. We need this and that. And I say, okay, maybe I can run for Alderman and make the change.
Let's follow up. I'm gonna follow up with that in a second. You know how you ran and how you thought you're gonna make the change. But let's go on before we come back to you, Alderman Garza. Let's go to Alderwoman Scheketa Hart-Burns, one of our senior aldermen, our aldermen that kind of lay the foundation of the city council and tell us how things should go. Alderman Hart-Burns, can you tell us a little bit about your story and how you got to be the alderwoman for the city of Aurora for close to 35 years, or is it a little bit more than that?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm humbled, and so that I moved here from Florida. I lived in Fort Myers, Florida. I moved here. I was fortunate to be born and raised in family businesses. My mother, dad had the restaurant. So guess what? I had to learn how to work early and go to sleep quick and wake up fast. That's what I call it. But I had to be at the restaurant with them at an early age. So at 5 years old, I started serving coffee at the coffee window, helping make things work for the family.
5 years old?
5 years. I was making change for $20 bills. Mama meant for me to be smart. Yeah. So that was a lot of work. At the restaurant, then washing dishes on crates, cleaning the glasses. They taught us how to do all of that. But the blessing was later on, as I got older and in elementary school, I was able to go there every morning with mommy and daddy to help set up everything. And I learned how to cook real early. I learned how to clean real early because the restaurant business taught you that. But to be there at 4 o'clock helping to get things established, I learned to sleep quick and wake up fast, meaning Monday through Thursday, we would close at 11. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday was there till 2 o'clock. So you had to go home. We closed at 2. That means you had to fall asleep by 2:30. We went to sleep and I woke up fast to be there to help every day. I was fortunate to do that. But at age 16, senior in high school, went away. And I went to college. I left home, went to college, and learned a lot from that experience, and glad that I did. Graduated with honors from college. Smart kid in school, same thing. Graduated from high school with honors. But I'm here to tell you the love that I have for my mother and her strength that she gave to that community and my dad, it was second to none. Then, of course, the church person, daddy, the preacher, the pastor, the PK, that's who I was. So I was everything in church. So I could sing the horn off a billy goat. Whatever needs to be done in church, I could still do it, but not going to do it. But that taught me a lot. So when I moved here, and I knew what I needed to do.
What year was that?
I had to get back involved. I came to Illinois in the 70s.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wow.
Yeah, but I lived in West Chicago first. And then I moved to Aurora in the, 79. Yeah. And the house that I purchased was right down the street from James Funeral Home. And I went there and I told him.
James Funeral Home was on Galena.
On Galena. Mm-hmm. So I went there and I told him what I did, because that's what I did. In 1972, I started working at the funeral home, but I was raised in it. I was always around it, but me doing it myself was in 72. And I went there to him and I shared my information. I became the very first employee for James Funeral Home.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. And I stayed there with him at that location as long as he was there. And one day he talked to me about wanting to be involved in the rural community. So I got him on the Economic Development Commission. He was on there. And once he got on there and started seeing how things worked, and I saw that he was ready for more growth. And what I was able to do was help him find some land that he asked me about, find some land that he could build on. So once he found the land, I gave him my resignation the same day for the groundbreaking to let him know I could no longer work for you, because I wanted to make sure that he built. And we did that. So we got the Titinos involved and the attorneys got involved and was able to pull everything together. And
this was before you were an alderwoman, right?
Before I was an alderman, yes. Before I was an alderman. But no. When he bought the property, yeah, I was an alderman then when he bought the property.
So before that, I know you worked for him for a number of years. How did it lead up to you becoming an alderwoman?
What happened there was I was doing programs, as you know, at the Grand Boulevard Center. You was there, and also at the Y. I was doing programs there.
Everybody knows what that's watching. And I know the Grand Boulevard Center is, and I'm sure everybody else knows on the screen. That was a center where young kids go. And back then, majority African-American kids go just for after school programs and all kinds of good stuff, just to keep us off the streets and then think positive things. I played there as a kid for years.
And I remember him as a kid in the family too. But I volunteered there at the Grand Boulevard Center. When I moved to Aurora, first of all, I was looking to see where African-American were, because that's where I came from. Fort Myers, I came from African-American community. Everything was African-American. I had my own newspaper business there. So I was eager for news and the love of the community. And I was able to find the Grand Boulevard Center and saw Ruby McGee was there, and Marilyn Michelini was the president for the the director there. And I was able to talk to her and do programs there myself. And to know that our children needed something to do more, and I was there to help to get it done. And the Grand Boulevard Center is still vibrant and dear to my heart to this day, because being a part of it all these years. And then when the Grand Boulevard started having problems, the city jumped in to be a great help. But thank you, Mr. Mayor, for that. But my volunteering, that's what I knew to do, raised in Florida, was to help everybody. If you came to our restaurant, guess what? If you say you was hungry, I couldn't doubt it. I had to fix your plate. And you say you needed somewhere to stay, I couldn't doubt it. My parents had the rental property, they had rooming houses, they had apartments at that time, even a couple of houses at that time. And if you say you need somewhere to stay, guess what? We couldn't doubt it. They didn't allow that. That's between them and God. That's what mom and dad would say. So I learned from that to give back to the community. And that's how I got involved in the Aurora community from the Grand Boulevard Center. And then when I moved around the street from the Grand Boulevard Center on Farnsworth, there was a meeting at the park that wasn't a good meeting. And I heard the Spirit of the Lord. That's how it came to me, said, do something positive at Farnsworth Park. I was in the kitchen washing dishes. I looked out the window. I walked downstairs. I'm like, what am I supposed to do over there? And the festival came to me to do things in the park. And that's what happened. That's how it's going on right now. The festival's still going. This is the 35th year.
Back to School Festival? Back
to school, yes.
So wait a minute. You started that Back to School Festival before you became an alderman?
Before I became an alderman, yes.
Wow. So you were engaged in the community, whether
all that time.
Starting at the Grand Boulevard Center, which is on Sumner and Grand Boulevard, Pattersonville, and you started that in the park, which is now Martin Luther King Park, which you changed that to Martin Luther King Park.
Had that changed. We had that park name changed because of who King was, and tried to make the changes in the community to give all the young kids, the young people go to the park, give them some strength and some love to be able to represent what Dr. King stood for. He was a man of peace, a man of love, a man of humility. And that was the purpose of changing the name. But to continue to do the festival, let me tell you, the first year when I did it, the kids were so happy because they knew me from Grand Boulevard Center again, and from church. I had a community choir during that time too, a whole lot going on. But the kids, they would come to my driveway and they would practice the dance routine. For those that don't know, me being a majorette cheerleader, I taught majorettes. I had the first 50 girls that was majorette for the Grand Boulevard Center and the YWCA. I did all that too. And those girls are still my girls, But I worked with them. But it was one young man got me. I was preparing them for the parade. And he said, Miss Hart, that's not right. You got everything to do for the girls and nothing for us guys. Guess what? I told him to organize the young men and decorate their bikes. He did that. That young man now has his own business. He challenged me and I challenged him. He has his own business. He's one of the best barbers in Aurora. And he wanted to lead off my barber and the cutting of the hair with the barbers at the park. Mike, Mike.
I do.
Mike Harden went on to school and got his master's degree, but he meant to be good. But a few years ago at the park, he came out of the tent and fell on his knees. He told the guys, them, this is what Miss Hart taught me, taught us to pray. So every morning they still pray, because I taught my kids, we had to pray every morning before they went to school, no matter what. I don't care if they were sleepy or what, on your knees. Mike had the men and the woman to drop to their knees and pray, brought tears to my eyes, because he said, Miss Hart taught me that. But a lot of the kids that I have worked with, to see now that they are teachers, they are nurses, there's one has a doctorate, but to see them to do the things they do, it showed me nothing but love.
You've clearly been leading and giving back to the community and stepping up to be, a matriarch, in the city of Aurora for so many years, especially among young African-American kids, as I've seen you lead, growing up at the Grand Boulevard Center and everything you've done for the community, and I want to come back to you in just a minute, because I want to talk to you about when you made history in the city of Aurora and what led you up to that point and that decision that you made to run for alderman. But I'll come back to you on that. Let's just go to Alderwoman Patty Smith. And tell us a little bit about your story, Patty, and how you got here up to running for alder.
Oh, well, it's a tough act to follow. So I'm fixing my gallery here. So I moved to the state of Illinois in 1990, and many of you heard me tell my story about my daughter, Catherine. She was born in 1991. And I'll back up just one step further. I got off an airplane at O'Hare Airport and was asked to find a home anywhere in the area to live. We scoured the area. We went through Wheaton, we went through Naperville, we went to Chicago, we went to Lombard, but we sat down with a real estate agent at a little bar and had a map opened up on the table, because back then you didn't have cell phones, right? And we're looking, and my ex-husband said to the real estate agent, he said, well, what's this little area right here, all this land right here? And it looks like there's a high school. She goes, oh, that's Aurora. You don't want to go out there. And we're like, well, why wouldn't we want to go out there? So, and we asked her some further questions, and I said, you know what, I'm done for the day. So we went back, had her drop us off at our car, got in our car, drove out to Oakhurst, and bought a home.
Wow.
That fast, that quick. We loved what we saw. When we first moved here, off of Eola Road, Eola Road was 2 lanes. There was absolutely nothing up and down Eola Road except for Wabansie Valley High School. Hammond had a little roadside stand, and that was it.
Used to be a lot of cornfields out there.
There was a lot of cornfields. We did see the development plan and what was going to come, and it all has come, and even more. So that's what it looked like when we got here. So
Matter of fact, let me ask you a question. Remember the drive-in theater? Was the drive-in theater still there on Eola in New York at that time?
Oh yeah, I took my kids to that drive-in theater all the time.
Guys, you remember that drive-in theater?
I remember that. I remember that.
Aurora has changed so much since then.
I know, but I like that drive-in theater. I'd still go if it was there. So in 1991, my daughter Catherine was born, and I always felt like I was a career woman. I was going to choose not to stay home with my children. I was going to have children and work my way back into going to work. And when Catherine was born, as you all know, she was born with Down syndrome. So what do you do? The doctor, pediatrician sitting in my room after she was born said to me, her life is in your hands. It is your job to be her advocate. And that's how she will grow and how she will develop. Well, I didn't need to hear that twice. And again, you guys, sitting here with me all know Catherine and know the outcome. But that's what I did. I chose not to go back into the workforce, and I dove into my community. And I started with simple. I sat on the Oakhurst Homeowners Association board. I sat on the swim team board. I started, I chaired the National Association for Down Syndrome when Catherine was like 2 years old, 2 years old. The Western Suburb branch, where they hadn't had one out here in a while. So I, researched it and found what I needed to do to start a branch out here. And basically what it was is getting a group of parents together once a month and providing them with education on what they could do and how they could help their child with Down syndrome. And even before that, when Catherine was 5 years old, I was ready to start advocating, and they kept telling me, no, she's too young. She's too young. She's too young. I said, no, she's not too young. I want to start. I went to Little Friends, and no, you got to wait till she's 6 months. I said, no, I don't want to wait. So a lot of precious time lost on milestones. So I went out and found 5 other parents. Took a lot of time and research, 500 parents with kids with Down syndrome about the same age as Catherine, went back to Little Friends, and I said, okay, I now have a class. I'm bringing my whole class with me. Now just provide me with the teacher. So we started that whole program at that age at Little Friends. We, meaning me and Catherine. So I got so involved with our community. Indian Prairie Education did not have, or Indian Prairie District 204 did not have an early childhood program back then. In fact, the one that they had was self-contained. And when Catherine got to the age, a school age, when you have a disability, it's age 3, they came to me and they said, you know, it's time for Catherine to start coming to our preschool. And I said, well, all due respect, this is a special needs preschool, it's self-contained. District 204 has an inclusion program and you are not doing it at preschool. So I went out and researched and put her in a private preschool. They called me back about a month later and they said, well, we'd like to use your daughter as a pilot for integrating at the preschool level. And I said, sure, that's fine. It was nice that they paid for it. But lo and behold, once they used Catherine, they started adding more and more children to these private preschools. And then another year later, it became huge. And, you know, the very short of the long story is District 204 ended up building their own preschool for kids with special needs and integrating regular ed kids in it. And as you all know, it's a preschool. Yeah. So I always tell
You started that, huh?
Yeah, we started that preschool. We got behind that preschool.
Wow, that's great.
So, you know, basically, over the last 30 years, as you guys have known, I have been the leader in championing the community and getting involved first for Catherine really made me love my community. I got to know my community like no other. I got to know the leaders in my community and I became a leader myself. So the love for my community grew and grew and grew as she developed and got older. I sat on every board, every commission, everything I possibly could.
School board, you sat on the school board?
Yeah, Indian Prairie Education Foundation. I sat on a couple of Human Relations Commission, you name it, I did it. But all that was, you know, to move her forward and it has worked. For the last decade, Catherine has been one of a few people in the area, in the Chicagoland area, to work with ComEd as a special needs ambassador.
Wow.
They're one of the, yeah, so we go out, we have a once a month commitment. We have to travel somewhere and she talks about how to conserve energy through ComEd. And I am her job coach for that.
Well, I'm going to jump in just for a second because I want to get to, you know, because I love these stories, you know, so passionate. Everybody, you know, has these stories about how you've already served. You were serving even before you began serving on the city council. And we'll come back to that because I want to hear how you actually decided you wanted to run for alderman and your role as an alderwoman here on our council. But let me go to Alderwoman Baid because I want her to, you know, jump in so we can have a full conversation with all of us on the screen. Alderwoman Baid, can you tell us a little bit about who you are, your history, up to the point where you decided you wanted to be an alderwoman here in the city of Aurora?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Happy Women's Day, Women's History Month to all of you. First of all, I would like to give a shout out to all the women in uniform, first responders, medical workers, educators, homemakers, working moms, and all the ladies in the city. Thank you to Mayor Richard C. Irvin and City of Aurora for organizing this Zoom session to honor and acknowledge the contribution of women in our community. As a child, I was always inspired by my mother, who is a very passionate human being, and my father, who's a very hardworking person. Just like other normal children, I went to school, I read a lot of books and learned various forms of arts. The year I decided to move here in Aurora was, we were in Chicago and I was looking for great schools and I was working in Chicago. So I wanted an easy access to city and also the outlet mall. So these three things brought me to Aurora. These were the main three reasons. When I came to see the houses here, I just fell in love. I really enjoyed meeting the people here. They were very warm and welcoming, which was very nice to get the feel of the city. So as a child, I read Shakespeare's, Ernest Hemingway, Sidney Sheldon, which had a lot of powerful women characters in his novels and books. I also got interested in arts and sciences at early age. So some of the artists that intrigued me were Elizabeth Louis Lebrun. That's her name is a little difficult. It's a French name, but she was an amazing artist. Van Gogh and Andy Warhol with his pop art. I was really impressed, and I thought it is very important to include arts in your life and make it a day-to-day activity in your life. So when I grew up, while I was going to school, I always wanted to be an educator. One thing that really made a strong mark at early age was each one teach one. So if everybody who is educated starts teaching at least one person, there will be no one left on earth who's not educated. So my passion, I started helping underprivileged kids in the community with math and science, which were my favorite subjects, and I still love them. Once a week, I started volunteering because I wanted to have a sense of what is the gap between their understanding and what I am getting, the information or the education I'm getting from schools. So that helped me in appreciating how getting involved in community can make a difference in many kids' lives and many families' lives. So with this, I was involved in collecting food donations for the underprivileged kids and the people who could not afford meals. And
where was this at? Was this in India?
That was in India.
Okay.
And that started at very early age. So when I was 2 years old, my parents said the best way to celebrate your birthday is definitely you can give candies to your classmates and friends, but to go out and see the kids who do not have clothes or food to eat. So let's start your day handing out food to them, and then you go to school and continue your celebration and then have a birthday party or whatever. So it became a normal routine for all of us, even the kids that are there in the family now. The things have westernized and changed a lot, but I see the parents and grandparents and the family still continues to do this kind of thing, and which is very inspirational. So then my teachers and my parents always inspired me and motivated me to do go out outside your comfort zone and try to help the community, and it just became a habit. So
can I ask you a question? Did you finish college in India?
I did finish my college in India, and then I studied here too. And very recently, I went to COD like 4 years back. Because I am an IT professional.
When you say COD, you're talking about COD, College of DuPage?
Yes, College of DuPage.
So when you finished your college degree in India, you said you came here and got education too. What school did you go to here, and did you get like a degree?
I went to New Jersey City University, and that's where I taught math and computer science too.
Wow.
So
young kids in underprivileged neighborhoods?
This is a normal university in New Jersey City, Jersey City.
Mm-hmm.
So my IT background, you have to keep yourself updated, otherwise you're out of business. Yeah. So that's why I just wanted to continue it, and I'm still continuing it. And that's why I went to College of DuPage, because of the changes in the field.
Right.
And
let me ask, because if I'm not mistaken, didn't you actually teach in Detroit for a certain period of time?
No, in New Jersey City.
In New Jersey City, you actually taught
yes.
in Jersey City. Gotcha.
And when I was teaching, a lot of kids were almost my age. I mean, I must be 22 when I was a professor there. And sometimes people used to get confused if I'm a student or a teacher.
And let me ask, because I want to get up to the point to where you ran for alderman. Just 1 second. I want to follow up with the powerful ladies we have on the screen with you. You actually went into the banking industry for a while as well, didn't you?
Yes.
Working for large banks like a Harris.
Yes.
And did Chase.
Chase Bank. So when I moved to Chicago, that's when I started working for Bank One, which then merged to JP Morgan. It became JP Morgan Chase, and then it became Chase. So I went through all the mergers, and this was mostly for IT. And of course, because these were big financial institutions, and then Harris Bank went through their merger too. So these finance and IT, those things were intertwined, and that's how I got experience in both fields.
So what year did you actually move to Aurora?
I moved in 2004. 2005, sorry, 2005. I was renting in the area before I bought a house here, and I just
fell in love with Aurora.
Yes.
As we all.
It was love at first sight.
All right, so we're going to come back. We're going to come back to you in just a second. So, all right, I'd like to go back to Alderwoman Juani Garza just for a second. Juani, you just talked a little bit about, you're talking to your community members. You decided, you're like a leader in your neighborhood, talking about fixing lights, talking about what needs to be done. They really didn't know who the alderman at that particular time was and wasn't addressing the needs. When did you decide I'm running for alderman? When did you decide that? And how did you come to that decision?
When I decide, well, really, I don't have no plans for that because I was so busy with my own businesses. My partner, Greg, Greg, I want him running for alderman because I think he had more potential than me. I never have idea, but I say
you didn't even look at yourself. You didn't even look at yourself as alderman material or leader on the city council.
No. Even when they had so much concerns about what's going on, I told Greg, I think you have to run for this position because you are more confident with government. Because he's very involved in that all the time with government in Springfield and in Chicago. And I don't have no experience at all in being a government. The only I know is run my own businesses and that's it. And I say, no, that's you, Juani, you have to do this. And then I say, okay, told me how I can start. So Penny Falcon and Martin Falcon, you know them.
I know them.
They say, no, Juani, you have to run. And I said, well, okay. So told me what I have to do. And I work with the community all the time because I have my own businesses with that. And I say, okay. So I start running the petitions and all that. And when I run the petitions and knocking doors, I notice there really gap. What is what we need exactly? So I say, okay. So there is we have a Latino alderman before but really it's not the same. I'm saying it's not the same when you are an immigrant. When you are 100% immigrant, it's totally different. When you know the language, but you don't know the background of the immigrant. So he was Latino, he speaks Spanish, but he not doing, and he don't have the heart to do what we do, what we need to do to make the change in the community.
And the truth is, let me tell you, the particular area you're running in was a large majority immigrants, meaning first generation.
First generation, 84% Latinos in the first generation. And in that time, I saw a lot of gap. No communication and all with the city council. They don't have they not publish nothing in Spanish. They don't know what the mayor do. They don't know what is the alderman. They don't have idea with that. Nothing.
So you felt like they didn't truly have real representation.
Yes, and have the trust because they didn't trust.
Well, so, they clearly trust you now, and you clearly have great representation.
Absolutely, yes.
In the second,
and we start talking about when I got elected in 2005 in April. So I start that year, the first year, I started working and try to make the change with McCarthy Park because in that years I live very close to McCarthy. Nobody can cross McCarthy Park in the nighttime.
So just to make sure everybody's clear, the beautiful McCarthy Park that's there with the nice water pad and the playground and the rocking horses and beautiful trees and nice fencing that you put in, it wasn't like that before.
No.
It was a haven for drug users and folks that go there and do the unspeakable things and leave stuff all over the place that we would not want our children to see. So you were part of changing that around, and that was one of the first things that you did when you came on as Alderwoman.
It was the first thing, yes, because I know it was in the middle of the Latino community, and it's very sad they cannot use it because it was used only for homeless and drug dealers and people drinking in the nighttime. So doesn't matter, we call the police. By the time the police get in there, they hide and they have like a little gazebo, remember? So they hide everything behind the gazebo. So finally, until we have videos, because I fight so much with historical preservation to demolish the gazebo. Because they say, oh no, this is historical and you can attach it and blah, blah, blah. But nobody put attention in there. Was very, the last time they painted the gazebo was in 1984. Imagine.
So let me jump in for a second, and I want to let everybody know how hard you worked and what you changed this park around. So it went from this place where it was a haven for drugs and gangs and just violence and all the unspeakable stuff to a point where every single year you have an ice cream social with kids running all over the place, everybody happy, families come there, kids come there now and enjoy the splash pad and play. So to go there now versus just only a decade ago, it's like night and day, and that was
absolutely
due to hard work you put into it.
And every single event, like we do the Easter Bunny hunt, the hunting, so the kids really enjoy, and that's what I want and make me happy. Our community, they can use the park. The parks, the park was beautiful, but they have all.
Let me jump in to say this. Let me say this. Listen, you start out with that park and beautifying that park and making a difference in that and you spread it out throughout the whole of Ward 2. So you started with that park, but everything
we started with the park, we did another two parks in the corners. When I remember when they have a lot of tires, people just drop tires in the corners over there. So we decided to clean up that, and we do the Freedom Park and the Spring and East is still there, the park, as with the playground. And so we have another one in the corner of Flag and 4th Street. Another park, they have another one, problems in there, it's just dumping garbage, dumping tires. And we clean up also, and we did the Ted Weisner Park in the corner.
I'll say this. We all know what Aurora was not long ago. And you, strong, powerful women on this screen here help in your various wards to change it to what it is today, and the pride that we all have in our city, and the pride we have in Ward 2, the pride we have in Ward 7. And I'll come back to you, Juani. I think we got to go to the woman who made history in the city, Alderwoman Scheketa Hart-Burns. Alderwoman, now you talked a little bit about how you've been, you had been working for years and volunteering and helping young people, and start when you decided, helping businesses move from one location to another, and expand. When you decided you wanted to run for alderman, what was that feeling that you had? How'd you make that decision? And what were people saying back then? Because at that point, there had never been an African-American on our city council in the history of our city. And that was in what year when you said you were going to run?
I made up my mind in 1990 that I was going to run.
90, there had not been. So tell us a little bit about that, how that experience, because that had to be emotional.
It was emotional because I was doing things at the park, and you see the kids enjoying themselves, and they needed more. They kept saying they needed more. And my running was because initially I was going for the position they called East Side Coordinator. The city of Aurora had a position called East Side Coordinator.
Oh, and so you were an employee with the city.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. And as I looked into that, and talking to Betty Barr, who was the alderman at that time, found out that she was applying for the job too, and was a likely candidate because she was already inside. And then knowing that the ward would open up at that time, they had did some redistricting because Ward 2, 7, and 8 was all Ward 2. It
was one ward. It got broken up into 3 different wards. Right?
Mm-hmm. So it got broken up to Ward 2, 7, and 8. And with that, I talked to Betty about the 2nd ward, and then which became the 7th ward and 8th ward as well. And but I got a conversation because I had a community group called Heart to Heart Gospel Singers, and Ron Ford was my bass player. And Ron was working for the city at that time, and Ron was in the engineering department, but he was also in the mayor's office first, right? So we talked about it, and he knew all the things I was doing because I also had a newspaper business and all that. So he knew the things that I was capable of. So from there, started to research more about the second ward, and from downtown all the way to Fox Valley. And as I looked at the area where we are now, I saw where the African Americans all live. So I had the largest voting block. So in talking to Mr. Cowherd and to Warren Kent, I did the roll call of all the older guards, and to talk with them and meet with the older African Americans. They felt that I was the most qualified candidate because I had been actively involved. Lillian Pierre as well, I spoke to her too, and more active in the community. And they saw that I was the most logical candidate. And when I ran, when it hit the fan that I was going to run, I was unopposed. But there was 3 gentlemen that was asked to run against me. And the first one called and talked to me, and he knew I had a disabled child. He said, well, you have a disabled child. Does that mean you have a bad back? I said, everybody got a bad back. You can wake up wrong. You can walk wrong. You can sit wrong. You have a bad back.
So wait a minute. Let me ask you. So when you first were elected alderman, you didn't have any opposition at all?
I was unopposed. Those 3 men was asked to run against me, but beforehand they called to talk to me about it.
Oh, gotcha.
So the first one was talking about the back. The second one, he said, oh, you're a Christian. And he said, you're doing things at the park. You're doing things in the community. He said, you have choir. He said, how you have time to do all that? I just do it, right? But the third one said, I can't run against her. She's my daughter, big sister. She's my eyeglass model. So those 3 men did not run. So I was unopposed. And I kept working, but also not to have no African American, no minority representation on the city council at all. The door, I walked in. Not that they wasn't trying to run an applicant, or a person. It's just that when they started checking their background against mine, they saw that I was more actively involved in the community. So my being involved in the community helped me all the way, volunteering to work with the kids in the community, and then the seniors. I started my own senior program called Taking the Senior to Lunch. Guess what I found out? I found out all the seniors, and this was before I was an alderman. I found out the seniors, why they moved to Aurora, as you asked Patty and everybody else, right? Found out why they moved to Aurora and what they did and how could I help them. And that was just me. I was always helping the seniors, down to the teachers, because guess what? I was Miss PTA. Guess what? I was Miss Cub Scout leader. Guess what? I was just working.
So let me get this straight. You were helping the youth. You were helping seniors. You were volunteering in the church, and you were getting it all done. And you opened it. All right, let me just make it clear to everybody that's listening, our listeners today. We have the most diverse city council now than we've ever had in the history, in the 185-year history of our city council. And Alderman Hart-Burns, you opened the door to make that happen.
Thank you. Opened the door and gladly walked in, because I knew that my walking in, I was going to be helping others as well. So the ladies that's on the council now, they're my sisters.
Absolutely.
I love them. They're my sisters. We're together as one.
Ladies, and it's the most women we've ever had at one time.
That's the most ever. The most ever. And then we all came together as sisters, loving each other for real, for real.
Absolutely.
Because I want to see them be the best. I want to see them be the greatest. My heart is with them. Whatever they're trying to do, I want to see them do it, because we are the real sisters, and we all look alike.
There you go. Well, I know they appreciate, you being that foundation and being that person that opened the door for them to follow. Let's go on to Alderwoman Patty Smith. Alderwoman Smith. Now, you said you had been on everything that you can imagine, school board, all these different organizations. What made you decide, I want to run for Alderwoman and represent my people, my community, at this level?
So all the things that I talked about a little bit ago were all things that I did, out of my heart and for volunteerism. And then when it got to, I stayed home, I was a stay-home mom. I was very fortunate to stay home with my children for approximately 20 years. Then when I had to really hit the real world and get back to work, I went to COD and obtained from American Bar Association paralegal certificates. So
wow.
I did that later in life. That was a certificate, not a degree. I do have a degree as well, because I needed to get back to work. And the first job out of there, I went to work in family law. And I worked for a private office for about 2 years. And, there was just something missing. There was no service. I was not servicing people. It was something that wasn't in my heart in that office. And I just simply had to leave. the next place I went to was Prairie State Legal Services, and that is a non-for-profit legal agency that provides free legal services for low-income individuals across the state of Illinois. That was a wonderful job, and it really fit me. It fit who I was, because I was back to helping people who can't otherwise help themselves, and it was really important to me. But and how I got involved with as an alderman in 2008, I believe, Ward 8 position became available, and there was some time left on the term, and it was up to Mayor Wisner to appoint a replacement for that position. And I was contacted, I had been on a couple of things related to the city. I was contacted by Mayor Wisner to come in, and I was one of two, I was the top two choice to take over Ward 8. My predecessor, Rick Mervine, was also the other one. And Rick really was very familiar with the city. I was familiar with the community. Rick was familiar with the city. So I knew I'd do better in the ward, but he would do better in the city. And at the time I still had children at home, and I looked at Mayor Wisner and I said, listen, this just isn't my time. I really would like this. This just isn't my time. Rick is the better guy for the job. So that's where it ended up going.
I don't know that I ever knew that story.
Yeah, you know, I do believe things happen for a right reason. There was reasons why I didn't take it, and that all worked out. But I never, ever lost sight of that position. And that's really, so when we discovered, Mary, you worked with me a little bit, when we discovered that my predecessor was not going to run again, man, it was an easy decision for me to just step in there and take off. And, you know, it's just part of my heart. It's just part of who I am, taking care of my community. And this just upped it to another level as being alderman. So that's really kind of the.
You have done an amazing job, you know, and well represented Ward 8 since then. Now, how many years have you been an alderwoman?
Me, I'm just finishing my first term.
And so that's going to become 4 years coming up?
Yeah.
Alderwoman Juani Garza, how long have you been an alderwoman?
Almost 18 years.
18 years.
Wow.
Alderwoman Scheketa Hart-Burns, how long have you been an alderwoman?
31 years.
31 years. 31 years. So that's a whole lot of experience, a whole lot of foundation, and a lot of knowledge to help our newest alderwoman Baid. Now, Alderwoman Baid, how long have you? And you're on mute. So how long have you been on the city council?
So very soon I will be completing my first year on the city council.
That's great, because it seems like you've been a part of this for forever, you know. So you jumped in with, you know, your feet hit the ground, you're running and making things happen. So you've become part of the fabric of the city of Aurora just in that short period of time, as the first ever Indian American to be on the city council, you know. And Alderman Hart-Burns opened that door, and you followed her right on through it, as well as, you know, Alderwoman, you know, Garza, as well as Patty Smith, our Irish representative, you know, on the council. So tell folks what made you, just briefly, what made you decide you wanted to run for alderwoman?
So along with my work as the IT professional, I was always involved in the community. So wherever I found an opportunity to volunteer, like the school district 204, food pantries or art camps, STEAM activities, I would just put my name, please, I want to volunteer and let me in. So that was one part I was very passionate about. And when I had been volunteering, some of the community members, they approached and they said, the position for Aurora City Council for Ward 10 is opening up. Why don't you consider stepping for this position? That's when I started looking at the work our current city council members have done. And I also saw, Mr. Mayor, what's your vision for our city? And I thought this aligns with my goals for life. So my goal was to be the voice of the community, serve the community. And I felt I could help in convening a lot of things because of my background. Certain things like my STEAM background would help on the technology.
STEAM is science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics.
Yes.
Okay.
And thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Right.
So that would help in the technological advancement of the city. Then my small business, as I am a small business owner, I can understand what businesses go through, and I can understand how they struggle on day-to-day basis. I could try to help them. On my with my corporate banking and IT experience, I could help with the legislation and balancing the budget. So there were so many things that my background just fit in. My volunteering, feeling to volunteer in the community all the time. This was, I think, just like I was putting the pieces
Of the puzzle together.
of the
Absolutely.
puzzle together.
Absolutely. And you've done an amazing job putting those pieces together, and you're, a great addition to what we see on the screen here. And just looking on the screen, although, you are all, powerful women, you're all multicultural mix and bring, a different flavor to the council, which helps our council be even stronger, more prepared to move Aurora forward. Now I'm going to ask, a question. We're coming up on just only a few minutes left. Everybody's been excited about this. And I want to give Clayton an opportunity to at least ask one question, but just briefly, I'll start with you, Alderwoman Baid. If you had to tell, if you had to give advice for another woman running for office, or a young girl, young leaders running for office, or just standing up and making a difference, what would you say?
My first advice to them would be get involved in the community. And that just the civic engagement part is so important. One vote really matters because it is your voice. So that is my main advice. And I would tell them, if people, younger women, if they're scared or if they have any reservations, just go for it. You will learn so much from this experience. You will help the community, and you can stand up for the things that you believe in, and you can empower other women around you.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. What about you, Alderwoman Smith? What would you tell a young lady running for office, or any young girl that be a leader?
I would tell a young lady that was considering running for office or any type of leadership position to don't let the hard knocks of life get in your way. Very briefly, I came from my father was an abusive alcoholic and came from a very poor blue collar background and had nothing growing up. So I am a classic, don't judge a book by its cover, because people don't see that when they look at me. So if you are going through something like that, don't ever give up. You can still get there. It's what you've got up here. It's what you've got in your heart. It's the power and the strength to stand up and be heard and be recognized, move forward, and take control of your own life. That's the advice that I would give somebody. So it's not always peaches and cream, and not all of us get to, have a mom and a dad raise us and, sail through life with no hard knocks. And that doesn't mean you can't get to where we are today.
Absolutely right. Great advice. What about you, Alderwoman Garza? What would you say to a young lady running for office, or just a young lady looking for a leadership role?
A young lady, I think when it's young, they have to be ready to have, if they have the passion to run for the position of, I'm saying the other woman, first, they have to be ready to learn, to hear, and be patient, and put all the love and passion to what they do, and be ready to receive good comments and bad comments, but be patient and keep doing what you want and what is for your heart to help in the community.
Never give up. Keep on keeping on. Keep on doing.
Never give up.
And we'll close out with you, Alderwoman Hart-Burns.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor.
So what would you tell young ladies? And I know you have done this many times before, so you've given this advice. Matter of fact, you've given advice to many of these young ladies, what we have here on the screen already. So,
Mr. Mayor, I would say 4 things: give, love, share, and listen. Because you got to give of your time. And I gave up time to the seniors and to the children. And you got to show the love to everyone, no matter who it is, what they are, you got to show that love to them. I learned to share in that being that good listener is also that good doer. So I was the one that went to people out there clean up. I did all that too, because just because one may be knowledgeable don't mean they're able at that time. And then I listen to everybody. No matter who's talking, it's a conversation. So as we learn to give love and we learn to share and listen, guess what? We have captured our children. We have captured women our age, and we've captured all the seniors. All of us have to learn to give love, share, and listen. Our young people need that. Anyone coming in this position first got to know how to give of themselves, love others and themselves to love others. And then they also got to know how to share and listen. Our main position that we have to this day, all of us have learned how to listen. Everybody's view is not the same. We've run into all kinds of hard knocks, but guess what? We heard what they said. We listened to them and we can act after that. So all four of those things give us the strength that we need.
And that strength is clear in you strong women here that we have on our city council. It's clear. Now, Clay, we may not have any time for questions, but do we have any comments that we've gotten from our audience to close out this wonderful conversation with our Women's Caucus on the city council?
Women's Caucus, that's it. I love it. Definitely.
Love it.
Thank you so much, Alderwomen. So much love coming from Aurora. We knew it would. Once we put the publicity out, we have 3 classrooms watching, almost 150 students. Teachers said they're cheering randomly throughout each of the comments there. And so the love that's there and just the support. They're commented on the sisterhood. One individual said, with so many elected officials fighting each other nowadays, it's refreshing to see our women on the Aurora City Council have a sisterhood that you can tell is genuine and authentic. So whatever you're doing, ladies, behind the scenes that form this bond, please keep doing it because you're inspiring the whole city. So thank you so much.
All right. We're going to close out and just say thank you. And this here, is as we close out, Women's History Month, next week, recognize that you women are valuable and part of the history and fabric of the city of Aurora. You'll always be a part of our history, and you'll always, represent that strength that others can follow. And we know these other young ladies that are watching or come to city council or visit with you, you guys are the inspiration, and they'll be the ones to follow, and you'll be setting a great standard. So thank you for everything you do for our council. Thank you for everything you do for the city of Aurora as a whole. And thank you for being you. All right, you guys will close out.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Great day, great conversation. Look forward to seeing you soon at city council tomorrow. Bye.
Thanks, everyone.